The Open Door, a play in one act by Alfred Sutro. The drawing room of Lord Torminster's cottage by the sea. It is 2 a.m. of a fine July night. The French windows are open onto the lawn. The room is dark, and in an armchair, Sir Geoffrey Transom, a man of 40, with a frank, pleasant face, is seated, deep in thought. Suddenly, the door opens, and Lady Torminster appears and switches on the light. She starts at seeing Sir Geoffrey.
Oh.
Hello. Don't be afraid. It's only me.
What a start you gave me. Why haven't you gone to bed?
I'm tired of going to bed. One always has to get up again, and it becomes monotonous. Why haven't you gone to sleep?
I don't know. It's too hot, or something. I've come for a book.
Let me choose one for you.
He goes to the table.
Why were you sitting in the dark?
Oh, because the light annoyed me. What sort of book will you have? A red one or a green one?
Is there a virtue in the color of the binding?
Why not? They're all the same inside. There are 300 ways, they say, of cooking a potato. There are just as many ways of dressing up a lie and calling it a novel. But it is always the same lie. Here, take this. Popular astronomy. That will send you to sleep.
The stars frighten me, but I'll try it. Good night.
Good night.
And you really had better go to bed.
I move as an amendment that you sit down and talk.
At this time of night?
Why not? It's day in the antipodes.
And in this attire.
You are more dressed than you were at dinner. That's awfully rude, isn't it? But then, you see, you're not my hostess now. You're spirit, walking in the night. One can't be polite to spirits. Sit down, O shade, and let us converse.
I don't know.
The household have all retired, and we will make this conversation to Miss Grundy. We will leave the door open. There, the open door. Centuries ago, when I was alive, I remember paragraphs with that heading.
So you're not alive now?
And you are in your wrapper, peignoir, tea gown. It doesn't matter what you call it. You look jolly. Ridiculous word. I don't mean that at all. You look you. More than you've ever seen you in years. Shh, don't interrupt me. Shades never do that. By the way, do you know that old lumber room, my owner, my corporeal sheath, means to go away in the morning, before you are up?
Sir Geoffrey, what nonsense. You've promised to stay a month.
I assure you, I have been charged to invent fitting and appropriate lies to account for the ridiculous creature's abrupt disappearance. The man, Transom, is a poor liar.
You're making me giddy. Would you mind putting on your body? I've not been introduced to your soul.
How very remiss of me. Permit me, Gertrude. This is Geoffrey. You've often heard me speak of him.
I think I'll go to bed.
Now that is preposterous. Jack, my dear old friend, the best and only friend I have in this world, is slumbering peacefully upstairs. And Jack's wife is reluctant to talk to Jack's old pal because the sun happens to be hiding on the other side of the globe. Lady Torminster, sit down. If you're good, you shall have a cigarette.
Well, just one. And when I've finished, I'll go.
Agreed.
He hands her the box. She takes a cigarette. He strikes a match and holds it for her. He then takes a cigarette himself and lights it.
And while smoking it, remember Penelope's web, for I have heaps of things to tell you.
They'll keep till tomorrow.
Now that is a fearful delusion. Nothing keeps. There's one law in the universe. Now.
I want to know what you mean by this nonsense about your going.
Yes, I am off in the morning. It has occurred to me that I haven't been to China. Now that is a serious admission. How can I face my forefathers and confess to them that I've never seen the land?
China has waited a long time. A month, more or less, will make no difference.
There is nomadic blood in my veins. I must wander. I'm restless. Not like Jack. He's untroubled. He can sleep. Jack's a fine sleeper, isn't he?
Yes.
Calm, serene, untroubled, with the conscience of a babe. 1, 2, 3, he sleeps. And I have had some He and I have had some rare times together. I've been roped to him on the Andes. He shot a tiger that was about to scrunch me. I rubbed his nose when it was frostbitten. He saved my life, and I saved his nose. I always maintain that balance of gratitude in on his side. For where would he be without his nose?
You are absurd.
Would you have married him without a nose?
I might have.
Now you know you wouldn't. You'd have been afraid of what people would say, and what would he have done when he became short-sighted and had to wear glasses?
My cigarette has gone out.
Oh, take another. Never relight the cigarette. It's like dragging up the past. Here.
I said only one.
This is not the hour for inflexibility.
She takes the cigarette. He lights it for her.
Tell me why you mean to leave us. And remember, I shan't let this one go out.
My explanation will be handed to you with your cup of tea in the morning.
And you will be gone.
I shall be gone. There is a train at 7:45, which will be packed with husbands, and I shall breakfast in town.
Why?
Well, one must have breakfast somewhere. It's convention.
Sir Geoffrey, I want you to tell me what this means.
Give your decision, said the judge to the arbiter, but never your reasons. I go because I go. Besides, has one reasons? Why do people die or get married or buy umbrellas? Because of typhoid, love, or the rain? Not at all. Isn't that so?
I wish you'd be serious.
I'm fearfully serious. When Jack shot that tiger, he had to go so near the brute that he held his life in his hands. Do you know what was my chief impression as I lay there with the ugly cat's paws upon my chest, beginning to rip me?
Horrible. What?
I resented his having eaten something that smelt like onions.
A tiger!
Onions may have been his undoing. That's the beggar's skin on the floor. But you should have seen me rub Jack's nose.
Sir Geoffrey, there's very little cigarette left.
There are lots more in the box. And dawn is a long way off. Hang it, Lady Torminster. Don't be in a hurry. Do you hear the sea out there? It's breathing as regularly as old Jack. And why don't you think this is fine? Here we are, we two, meeting just as we shall meet on the other side of the Never Never Land. It's a chance for a man to speak to a woman and tell her things.
What things?
That's just it. What things? What have I to say, after all? I'm going tomorrow because I am a fantastic, capricious ass, and also because I'm lonely.
How will China help you?
They color it green on the map, and there is such a lot of it.
You should get married.
You say that, you.
He starts back, ashamed, and hangs his head. Lady Torminster throws a quick glance at him, then looks ahead of her, puffing quietly at her cigarette.
That is why you are going.
Now that really is fine of you. Every other woman in the world would have seized that chance for a melodramatic exit. Good night, Sir Geoffrey. I must go to my husband. Good night, Lady Torminster. A clasp of the hand, a hot tear, mine, on your wrist. But you sit there. Splendid.
I ask you again, is that truly why you are going?
Well, yes, that's the fact. I apologize humbly. It's so conventional, isn't it?
I suppose it's difficult for human beings to invent new situations.
Yes, well, I thought I was cured. I've been here for 5 days, and I find I am not. So I go. That's best, isn't it?
Yes.
So infernally stupid. You're a beautiful woman, of course, but there are heaps of beautiful women. You've quantities. Well, so have other women too, but I'm only 41, and as you say, why don't I marry? Simply because of you. Because you've an uncomfortable knack of intruding between me and the other lady.
The great misfortune.
It's most annoying. So I shall try China. I shall come back in 2 years. I shall be 43 then, I shall come back, sound as a bell, and I shall marry, take a house next to yours, and in the fullness of time your eldest son shall fall in love with my daughter.
Why not?
I shouldn't have told you, of course, but I'm glad that I have. It clears the air. Now, what excuse shall I make?
A wire from town?
Jack knows all about my affairs. In fact, that's why I take the early train, to avoid his questions.
You find it impossible to stay out your time here?
Quite. There are moments when I am unpleasantly volcanic.
Then I tell you the best thing to do. Don't take your trunks. Just go up with a bag. Leave a note that you'll come back on Tuesday. Then write from town and say you're prevented.
That's a good idea. Yes, that's much better.
And if you find that you really cannot come back...
Exactly! You'll forward my goods and chattels, and old Jack will be ascribed to it as my wayward mood. He'll think I found it too dull down here, and I'm immensely obligated.
Remark that I've not offered to be a sister to you.
You've been superb. Oh, the good talk we had. Do you know, I could almost wish old Jack to have heard what I said. I'm so fond of him, that grand old fellow, that I've been on the point of telling him, myself, more than once. For, he will have me take you about, and it's painful. Besides, I've felt almost disloyal to you. Keep this thing from him. I mean, you understand, don't you?
Yes.
He and I are one, you see. It's not British to show any feeling, but I love him. And the devil comes along, and of all women in the world, singles out Jack's wife and fills my heart with her. That's the devil's sense of humor.
Perhaps he has read Bernard Shaw. But you must never let Jack know. Never.
I suppose not. He's so direct, so single-minded. The shock would be terrible. But I'm not to blame. How could I help it? Oh, all the cackle about being master of one's fate.
2 years in China.
Well, hope so. Of course, it doesn't matter about my telling you because you already knew.
Yes, I knew. Although
Oh, you've done what you could. I've felt in 100 subtle ways how you've almost implored me not to. Well, there it is. I'll write that note at once.
He sits at the table and begins to write.
I'm sorry you were so lonely.
Oh, that's my fault, too. The fault of the ridiculous class to which we belong. I don't do anything.
Why not?
What would you have me do? Go into the house? Thank you, I've been there. You spend your time on the terrace or in the smoke room till a muffin bell rings, then you gravely walk into the lobby, where an energetic gentleman counts you as a pomifice counted to sheep. Philanthropy. Well, I've tried that, but it's not in my line. I'm quite a respectful landlord, but a fellow can't live all by himself in a great Elizabethan barrack. Town, the season, Christian mothers invite you to inspect their daughters' shoulders with a view to purchase. I'm tired of golf and polo. I'm tired of bridge. So try the good sea and the open plains, sleep in a tent and watch the stars twinkle. The stars that make you afraid.
Yes, I'm afraid of the stars.
Why?
You remember the Persian poet? I too have said to the stars and the wind, I will. But the wind and the stars have mocked me. They have laughed in my face.
Poets have a funny way of pretending that the stars take an interest in us. To me, it's their chief charm that they're so unconcerned. They're lonely too.
Don't say that again. Don't. I can't bear it.
Gertrude.
Yes.
He stares haggardly at her. She does not move, but looks out, through the open window, into the night.
Well, I suppose we had better turn in.
When do you go to China?
I shall take the first boat.
And you will come back?
In a year, or 2, or 3.
We shall hear from you?
Certainly. I will send you chests of tea, best family shoshong, and jars of ginger. Also, little boxes that fit into each other. I'm afraid that is all I know at present of Chinese manufacturers.
You will be away so long.
You told me to do something. I shall learn Chinese. I believe there are 500 letters in the alphabet.
As many as that.
It is possible that I exaggerate. Well, Lady Torminster, I think I shall say good night.
He offers his hand, which she ignores. She smiles and motions him back to his seat.
The sun is still shining in the antipodes, my dear Geoffrey. And you are still Jack's old friend, talking to Jack's wife. Sit down, and don't be foolish. You'll be away for years. It's possible we may never meet again. It's possible, too, that next time we do meet, you may be married.
Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows? So there's no reason why we shouldn't look at each other squarely in the face for once and speak out what's in us.
Oh, Lady Torminster, what is there to say?
How you resent my having told you.
Resent, I.
You do, and you know it. In your heart, you are saying, all was going so well. She has spoiled it. If she does love me, she shouldn't have said it. Jack's wife.
Well, Jack's wife, yes.
Geoffrey. Jack bores me.
Lady Torminster.
There! I've said it! Oh, it's such a relief. I never have before, and I don't suppose I ever shall again. For whom can I say it to but you? Listen, I tell you, quite between us, he bores me shockingly.
Lady Torminster, I beg of you.
The best fellow in all the world, and he bores me. A heart of gold, a model husband, a perfect father, and a bore. Oh, I assure you, I feel better.
I suppose there are moments when every woman says that of every man.
My dear Geoffrey, please send for your soul. It has wandered off somewhere, and I don't like talking to the copybooks.
You are talking to Jack's friend.
Jack's friend and mine. Don't forget that. And could I say these things about Jack to anyone else? And can't you conceive what a joy it is to say them? Besides, aren't we just now on the rim of the world? Aren't we a little more than ourselves? Aren't we almost on the other side of things? If we ever meet again, we shall look curiously at each other and wonder, was it all true? As it is, I'm scarcely sure that you are real. Everything is so still, so strange. Jack! He's up there. Of course, the dear boy, his big red face pressed on the pillow. Ugh, Geoffrey, when Jack brought you to me and I was engaged, if you only hadn't been so loyal.
Do you know what you're saying?
I am saying things a woman says once in a lifetime and feels all her life. No, it was all so simple. You loved me. You were blind because of Jack. And I married Jack. I mustn't complain. I'm one of the hundreds of women who marries Jack.
A better, finer man never lived.
I dare say, in fact, I am sure. But you should see us when we are alone, sitting there night after night with never a word to say to each other. You tell me you're tired of polo and golf and bridge. Well, what about me? And need you be scowling so fiercely and begrudge me my own little will? You who are going away.
Yes, I am going away, and I shall marry. I shall marry the first woman I meet.
This is very sudden. Why,
Because at least she won't be able to say unkind things about me to my friends.
Geoffrey, is Jack a bore?
He never bores me.
That's because he shot your tiger and you rubbed his nose. Besides, you talk about horses and so on, and yet I heard him for a solid hour telling you about a rubber he lost at bridge through his partner, making diamonds trumps when he should have made spades.
He's not clever, of course, but still, is cleverness everything?
Haven't I told you he's the very best fellow in all the world? And do you think I'm posing, pretending that I'm misunderstood and the rest? You know me better. I am indulging, for once, in the luxury of absolute candor.
You loved him.
Of course I loved him. And I love him now.
You see?
If we women had had a hand in the making of language, how many words there would be to express our feelings toward the men we are fond of. Of course, I love Jack. I'm cruel to him sometimes. And there comes a look into his eyes. He has dog's eyes, you know, of faithful Newfoundland.
I don't think women quite realize what friendship means to a man.
I am certain that men don't realize what a marriage means to a woman. Dear funeral, am I not a good wife? Shall I not remain a good wife till the end of the chapter? Because there isn't only Jack. There are Jack's children.
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful when you think of it? Here are we two, Jack's friend and his wife, alone on a desert island. And we have confessed our love for each other, and we are able to discuss it as calmly as though it were rheumatism.
Ugh. If only I hadn't induced you to stay.
My dear friend, you didn't.
I didn't.
Why, no, of course not. I knew you were going tomorrow.
How?
Oh, never mind how. I knew. And I suspected you would be sitting up here tonight, so I came down hoping to find you. I wanted this talk with you, and I extracted your confession as though it had been a tooth.
And why?
Why? Because it will be something to think of in the dull days ahead. Because I knew that you loved me and wanted to be told. Because your life lies before you, and mine is ended. Because I love you and insisted that you should know. You leave me now, and I have no illusions. Paolo and Francesca are merely a poet's dream. You will marry. Of course, you will marry. But this moment, at least, has been mine.
This moment and every moment, in past and future.
The future. Strange little syllables that hide so much. I can see you introducing your wife to me a little shyly. I can see myself shaking hands with her. And my boy is 7 already. Time travels fast. But it's good to know that you really have loved all these years.
By day and by night, you and only you.
And I have loved you. Yes, I have loved you. And having said this to each other, we will not meet again till you bring me your wife.
Oh, and then?
I have loved you, and I love you for the fine, upright, loyal creature that you are. I love you for loving Jack. And it is Jack's great quality in my eyes that he has been able to inspire such love. And my dear friend, let us not be ashamed. We too. But only very proud and very happy. We shall go our ways and do our duty, but we shall never forget this talk we have had tonight.
I am beginning to understand.
You will be less lonely in the future. And I'm no longer afraid of the stars. brave heart. Brave little heart that I, for a moment, have held in my hand.
Gertrude.
No. Stay where you are. Those are the first rays of dawn. I must go. Goodbye. We have no need to shake hands, you and I. Geoffrey. Goodbye.
She goes swiftly and closes the door. He bends his head and remains standing, motionless, by the table. Curtain.